Back when my coaching was $15,000 for the year, I ran into a situation. I think it was, if I remember right, it was a misunderstanding in my taxes. I thought I owed so much by a certain period of time, and actually I didn't. I owed it like immediately, and it was a huge number. And I thought, okay, so it's got to be here. The problem was that I was in between speaking engagements, I was in between events. I had not put any money aside for this. The revenue was down. Like I could pay my bills and everything, but this huge tax bill came in and it's like, where the hell am I going to get the money for that? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take on more coaching, private coaching clients. So I started calling and selling private coaching. And I sold a couple, but I didn't have that many people to actually ask. I think there, if I remember right, it was only five, 6 or 7 more people, and all of those people said no, right? I think I sold 2 and the rest said no. And the next morning I woke up and I thought to myself, no, it's got to be here. And I thought, what do I have? What do I have right now? What is my door? And it was the same people that told me no. So I picked up the phone that day and called them again. And I said, did you change your mind? And 3 more people bought that day. And the next day I called them again and asked them if they changed their mind, and a couple people more bought that day. And I did it in a very playful way, like just checking to see if you changed your mind. It's a great opportunity to bet on yourself like that. And they're like, yeah, I thought about that once I got off the phone with you and my husband said this or whatever. The point is, had I stopped at the first no, I would have had 2 sales and I would have been in real trouble, because I was looking for, like, this was kind of like my last thing. Like, it's got to be here. It needs to be in the same room with me. Where is it? I'm not seeing it. What is it? And I never considered those no's aren't necessarily a no. Call them again. Call them again. And I wasn't pushy. I was fun. I was playful. And I got every penny that I needed within 3 days. Within 3 days, because I decided to call them back. So you have the idea of, you have to break through the initial resistance you have inside of yourself to begin to ask, period. Okay. But then to go further than that, it's to ask more than once. So that's a story that the middle class told you. Okay. And I don't know about you, but when I grow up, if I asked my father for anything more than once, like, it was like a hellstorm inside the house. So you grow up and you don't ask because it gets so intense. But let's think about before we get that lesson. Kids ask relentlessly. They ask and ask and ask and ask. And if we would step back and look at it like, what is this in the reality of its truth? It's not there because it's an annoyance to parents. It's there because it's what's needed to be developed in that child in order for them to build the life that they want, right? It follows the law. The law is the desire in our heart is prompting our conscious mind to want. And then we see things that we want. Isn't it interesting that we don't all want the same things? Not specifically, right? Maybe in general, we all want a lot of money or a nice house or whatever. But specifically, we have preferences. Well, what shaped your preferences, right? What shaped your preferences as a kid? When you're 4 or 5 years old and you want something, but at the same time, there's things that you don't want. Your mind will focus on certain things that's very important for you, on the thing you're focused on. As an adult today, the danger is that you say to yourself, well, that's insignificant. It's not insignificant. It is God, it's the universe trying to open a path for you in the direction that you want to go. Now, this lesson can get very confusing for the person that's in it, because somebody will say, well, I made a decision, I set a goal, I'm doing this work every day, and all of a sudden I want this stuff over here. That's probably bright, shiny object syndrome. I'm talking about when you're not actually saying yes to your wants. That's the want that you've got to pay attention to. That's the very important want. Okay. So the subconscious mind, the desire, to be, do, have, to grow, right? Like we're never supposed to be satisfied in our life. As kids, we always heard, "Aren't you satisfied? Or is it never enough or whatever?" No, we're not supposed to be satisfied as human beings because the reason that we're here is to grow, to be on purpose, to expand, to always expand. Happiness has nothing to do with that, right? You should always be happy, but satisfied, never. Right? And when we start to think to ourselves of what we want in comparison, or let's say what we have in comparison to what our true potential is, you can start to become dissatisfied really quickly, which would actually be a good thing because it would help move you more toward the thing that you want. You got to let yourself want. So as a kid, all of this lines up. Like all the things were there in year one, two, three, four, five, maybe. All of the attributes of that child began to take shape. They began to show themselves as the direction that that kid would move in their life. And then they get smacked down by somebody else. And then they get smacked down again. And then they get smacked down again. And the kid stops wanting. It shuts off the desire in their heart. And they just follow what everybody else tells them to do. And eventually they get so disassociated from it, they don't ask anymore. And the idea of asking seems so far away in their mind as a natural impulse for them to bring it to the surface to do it. Like it's incredible because a person will just sit there and not ask. We won't ask for help. We won't ask for directions. We won't ask for somebody to do something for us. We won't ask for the things that we want personally. We won't ask in relationships. We just shut off the whole asking thing because they just squashed it when we were kids. So the first thing is to open the door and start asking. Whatever you desire, start asking for. Okay. The second thing is that you've got to go beyond the initial barrier of no. Start calling some clients back and asking them, just ask them, say, I was thinking about you in our conversation the other day, and I was wondering if you've given any more thought to this, if you've possibly changed your mind. This is such a good thing. And then you can even start the sales conversation all over again if they start to engage with it. Some people will say, no, 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 I'm still in my no. Okay, great. 6 months later, call them back again. Just curious to see. Like, you can't stop where they stop. And I would write that down. With anybody in your life, you cannot stop where they stop. You can't let your stopping point be directed by their stopping point. That's why Napoleon Hill created such a long chapter on persistence. And listen, here's the truth about this. You look at anybody that's successful in business, okay, that may be actually telling you no about something. The only reason they are where they are is because they were persistent as hell. They asked and asked and asked and asked and asked for everything that they needed. It might have been investment money. It might have been employees. It might have been people to barter work when they didn't have any money. It might have been for sales, whatever. They asked and asked and asked. Every one of them completely persistent. Napoleon Hill addressed that in Think and Grow Rich. And he said that very often it comes across in a negative way to people on the outside. But the truth is that these people are laser focused on what it is that they want. If you read biographies or interviews or stuff that were written by other people about successful people like Steve Jobs, they will take this great attribute in this man and they will turn it into a negative. Oh, he wasn't nice to his employees and he was often rude or what. No, he was focused. Maybe he didn't have the best communication skills, but who says that you have to? Where the hell is that a law? Right? Be yourself. Ask. Go beyond the barrier. Move that needle this week. The only reason it won't move is because it's someplace you're stopping. Go beyond it. See where you're stopping and go, I'm going to go beyond it. I'm going to go beyond it. I'm going to ask again. I'm going to call again, right? I'm going to reach out again. I'm going to ask and ask and ask. That will move the needle. And you break through your inner resistance. Listen, if the quality of your life was to be measured by the acceptance of others, you would never get out your front door because everybody would tell you no. You've got to go beyond it. You've got to go beyond it every day. And you need to make it part of your personality, right? And no, it like for those of you where it's like your brain is exploding right now because the paradigm is going, that's rude, and I don't want to be the pushy salesperson, all this. That doesn't mean that that's what you have to be, right? See how it locks into your mind to try to stop you? Be fun, be playful, be jovial, be teasing, right? Smile, laugh with people, but ask, but ask. I never called anybody and was like, well, you said no yesterday, damn it. I'm trying again. You better buy from me today. I never did anything like that. It was like I would call people and say, I was thinking about that conversation yesterday. And I know this would be so great for you. I just wanted to see if you changed your mind. Any chance you've changed your mind? And I couldn't believe the amount of people that said yes. Because here's what happens. In a sale, a lot of times people are forward facing in their no, right? Because they buy too much. So they're like, no, 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 right? And then you get on the phone with them or whatever, and they're in their no. But when you get off, what ends up happening is that all that resistance comes down. And very often they start thinking, did I do the right thing? Should I have said yes to this? This really does seem like a good thing, right? But you're not in front of them, so there's no resistance there. So it drops. Now you're going to call them completely out of the blue after the resistance dropped, and you will be shocked at how many times they're in there yes. Because it wasn't really them saying no to begin with. It was the paradigm saying no, right? That's exactly what it is. People say no to great things that are put in front of them all the time because their paradigm engages and they're afraid, or they think they don't have the money, or they won't know where they're going to come up with the money, or somebody else will be mad at them if they purchase this, or they've got a boss, right, that is like putting pressure on them, don't buy, don't, whatever. If they were in their consciousness without that paradigm, they would buy in a second. So when you take the pressure off, it's another way to go back and do it again. Some of the biggest sales in the world were no's 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And people went back and back and back and back. The person that's the most persistent gets the biggest win. So give that some thought. Ask again and again and move that needle forward. Don't stop here. If this message moved you, hit subscribe and keep building momentum with the next video in the playlist. And if you're ready to take this further, head to our website and grab the free resources waiting for you in the link below. They'll help you start putting this into practice right now.